often. We joined the Hare Krishna movement. Actually, in Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada explains that probably we have been devotees before. If somebody is a devotee this life, that means he was devotee before. So sometimes we join this movement, and we have attained some level of devotion in previous lives, and then we comfortably advance quickly in the beginning, and then we finally reach our level from the previous lives, and then we can relax. That's what we think, and maybe we are comfortable. We are chanting 16 rounds, and we follow the relative principles, and we do some service, but we have much greater potential, and we shouldn't be relaxed in our so-called comfortable situation, not advancing in devotional service, not being dynamically advancing. So therefore we have to practice throughout all our whole life. And there is one devotee, he was saying that his own realizations, sharing that destiny is the voice of God, and God speaks us very loud, perhaps the loudest, at the time of death, when death approaches. The samurais, for example, they have in their sadhana, they have regular everyday meditation on death. They meditate that they can die in any moment. And the Greek philosopher Plato, he said that philosophy is a lesson in dying. And you have these Cartesian monks that when they meet one another, we greet each other by saying Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Hari Bol, Mataji. What they say is morir habemus, and that means to die we must. And then the other monk, he's supposed to reply, Yalos habemus. We all know that. So they also have this funny ritual. They dress in monks' robes, skeletons of monks. They have died. They preserve the skeletons. They dress them in monks' robes, and they have special room in the monastery where they keep these guys there. So the new monks or the old monks also are regularly reminded about this. So they show them they have some special exhibition to show to remind everyone about the reality of material life. And so people, they come with so many different methods to remind themselves, to remind what? That we have to become serious about spiritual life. That no matter how good excuses we have and how cleverly we justify our material attachments, as Srila Prabhupada says, time waits for no man. So this is one of the meaning of sannyas. Sannyas means that we die before death comes, and this is the better scenario. Therefore, we have to prepare throughout our whole life, and that means sannyasa means that we basically get free from all material obligations, and then we are left only with our spiritual duties, with our real obligations, our real dharma, which is Sanatana Dharma, devotional service. It shouldn't be so scary, actually. it is, we shouldn't be so afraid of this, because actually, if we think deeply, this is what we have been aspiring for all the way through, right? This is why we joined this movement, so that we can perform devotional service as much as possible. And the material duties, of course, they can be spiritualized, connected to Krishna, etc. But at one point, we should just perform only direct bhakti, direct devotional service. The 5 most potent forms of bhakti described by Lord Chaitanya. So it is, we shouldn't be afraid to do this. It's actually fun, because we have more time for Krishna. It's a joyous occasion, joyfully performed, as Krishna explains in 9th chapter of Gita. We might be scared if we don't want to let go our material attachment. Then it might be unpleasant. This thought of sannyas might be unpleasant. But then, and it's true, maybe we are not ready, etc. But then we should know that procrastination is in the mode of ignorance. In Bhagavatam, it is stated that Amta kale tu purusha agate gata sadvasaha chindyata sanga shastranas priham dehyan vyachatam. Shukadeva Goswami urges Maharaja Parikshit that he should be fearless. One should be fearless at the time of death. But if one wants to attain this, then he should get rid of all material attachments and all things, the attachments to all things connected to the body and to all things connected to the body. So Avadutas are giving an example for all this as a general category. And of course, we should not imitate them. We should not imitate the behavior of Rshabhadeva or other famous Avadutas, Nityananda Prabhu, and Avanti Brahmana, the Avadut, the Python Sadhu, etc. Of course, I don't think that there are many, right now in our movement, there are many devotees who are planning to live such an extreme lifestyle. I think we are more on the other side of the pendulum right now. So we should not imitate them. The Avadutas, they show us that we are not this body, basically. They give example how a person who has realized that he's not the body, how he lives his life. We are not the body, and we should try regularly to experience this, at least to some extent, by taking some voluntarily, taking some bona fide spiritual tapasya, of course, in the margins of bhakti, in the frames that are given by our founder Acharya, not some superficial dry renunciation, which is actually harmful for our bhakti, which makes the heart hard. So, for example, soon we will have the Nirjala Ekadashi fast, so it's a good opportunity to take some tapasya connected to Krishna, so that we have more time to hear and chant about Krishna. It is a relief to realize, even partially, that we are not the body. Actually, this is very pleasing experience. And to realize that we don't have to follow actually all these social conventions, because the soul, as Srila Prabhupada describes in one purport in first canto, the soul wants to experience this absolute freedom Of course, freedom, absolute freedom, we cannot become absolutely free in the sense that we always dependent on Krishna. But freedom from our material attachments, from our material designations. And there is a price to pay for this, but still, it is actually fun. When I was small, I was watching one movie about one guy who was walking around with shaved head, so he didn't have hair. So I remember when I saw this, it was quite unusual sight for me. But I had this experience that, wow, this guy is actually free. He doesn't care for social conventions. He goes around. He doesn't care about his haircut. And it's a relief not to have this attachment. How do you look like? And what is your hair? To control your environment is hard enough. To control your haircut is like, it's not so easy. It's a botheration, actually. And then on traveling Sankirtan, also, once I remember we had this, not only once, several times, many times actually. But one time I remember clearly how I also felt this relief. We are distributing books in one town, and we were staying. One devotee gave us his house. He wasn't there at that time, so we stayed at his house. But the problem is, this was like house in the village, and there was no bathroom, actually, proper bathroom. So we had to take shower, bath outside, and it was early spring, so there was no shower, nothing, just sing, and then we had to pour water in a yogurt container from yogurt, because that's all we had. And just early in the morning, quite cold, and then the water is cold, and then you take bath outside, and sometimes it starts raining also. But it was very nice experience because you feel free. I don't need to have a bathroom. I don't need to have a shower. I can just depend on Krishna, basically. So, and another thing is that bodily discomfort will come voluntarily. If we take it voluntarily, of course, in relation to Krishna, because Krishna is ultimately Bhoktaram Yaga Tapasam. If we don't take it voluntarily, it will come, it will be enforced on us. So better to take it as it comes. And Srila Prabhupada explains that tapasya, in our case, in the life of the devotees, means just to perform our duties in Krishna consciousness. Because in due course of performing our duties, there will be time when it will be very nice and fun and easy and pleasurable, but then there will be other times also. So we have to perform our duties all the way. And this is our tapasya. Another thing about the avadutas, which is interesting, is that ordinary people, they hide their bad qualities and they promote their good qualities. And avadutas, they don't have bad qualities at all, but they behave in such a way that people think that they are very abominable. And Gaur-Kishore Das Babaji, for example, he was behaving in such a way that the materialistic people were actually not attracted, so that he had more time for sadhana, for his spiritual practice, for it's not practice in his case, for his worship of Krishna. We know that he was chanting in toilets, he was dressing in, he was just taking clothes from the crematorium, where the clothes of people who were burnt, recently, and yeah, different stories like this. He was also giving extreme examples of renunciation and dedication to his bhajan. Like, he didn't like to sleep, so at night when you chant the whole night and you don't sleep at all, then from time to time, you kind of, while chanting, you and then in order to avoid this, he would tie up a big lump of clay on the top of his head, and he would tie it up, and then whenever he would fall asleep, then it was too heavy, and then he would wake up. So these are the examples of our acharyas. And you have also other avadutas like Rshabhadeva, who actually attracted somehow or other. He attracted all the bad elements. Like these descriptions here we were reading. All the bad elements were abusing him and doing all kinds of bad things. But he was not affected because he resided in his own spiritual reality. He resided in his Atma Maya, in the spiritual world. So we should cultivate also this mood throughout our life. No matter what happens to us, we should try to remember Krishna, basically. And this we can do even while we are in different ashrams, not necessarily as sannyasis. So deeply consider, in Bhagavatam, 11th canto, it is stated that deeply considering the real situation, a householder should live at home just as a guest, because this is the real situation. He is a guest. It is not his house. Even the body, which is the house of the soul, it's not ours. We can be taken out, driven away at any moment. And we have other examples of such avadutas. For example, the Python sadhu who just laid down, and his philosophy was, whatever is destined to come, it will come, and I don't have to make any material endeavor. If Krishna wants to maintain this body, he will maintain the body no matter what. And if he doesn't, no matter how many endeavors I put, it won't happen. This extreme case of extreme spiritual advancement, not to be imitated also, but we may take inspiration from it. We may try to cultivate gradually in our own way, in our own life, this mood of detachment and attachment to Krishna. They always should go together. Or another example, Avanti Brahmana. This Brahmana, he was a rich person, but he was very miserly person. He would not share his wealth with the proper recipients of the proper persons that one should be sharing his wealth with. He would not even maintain properly his wife, his children, and as a result, they did not like him very much, as we can imagine. And when by the will of the destiny, he lost all of his wealth, then his family members, they became really inimical. I think they kicked him out of home, something like this, or he left because they were really treating him really badly. So then he felt this just like Pingala, the story of the Pingala, again from 11th canto. He felt this, by the mercy of Krishna, is great relief of detachment. Then he realized how miserly he has been, in what kind of materialistic life he was having. Then he took sannyas. He left home, and then he was traveling, begging for his food. But then again, the bad elements, they surrounded him, just like they surrounded Rshabhadeva, and they were mistreating him in similar ways. It seems there is some pattern here. It seems these bad elements, they have their specific ways they deal with saintly people, and the same things were happening to him, just like they happened to Rshabhadeva. And in the midst of this all, sometimes they were stealing his danda, sometimes they were stealing the food that he was begging. Sometimes they'll tie him up just like an animal and leave him there. So many bad things. And the Vanti Brahmana, he, in the midst of all this turmoil, apparent turmoil for us, maybe, he spoke up this famous verse from Bhagavatam: Nayam jano me sukha dukkha hetu, na devatatma graha karma kala, mana param karanam amananti samsara chakram parivartayatyat. He said, these people are not the reason for my happiness and distress. They're not the reason for my suffering. Neither are the demigods, nor the planets, nor my karma, nor time. Only the mind is the reason for my suffering. The mind who is attached to the happiness of samsara, so-called material happiness. So this is also example for us. So Srila Prabhupada explains in this purport that the Avaduta means one who does not care for social conventions. So why do we need these social conventions in the first place? Because we are attached to the illusion. We are attached to the gross bodily and subtle bodily conception of life. And this attachment has to be regulated somehow so that it doesn't drag us down. It's already a bad deal that we attach to illusion, but at least it should be regulated by Krishna, by Krishna's social system, so that we can, as Srila Prabhupada says, make the best use of the bad bargain instead of being degraded. So otherwise, if we don't accept the regulations of Varnashrama, of Krishna, then we'll try to impose some speculative rules on all these material attachments that we have. And the result will be chaos. Because these rules, because they are not universal, they don't come from the perfect source, they'll be imperfect, and they'll have to change them all the time. But this will not help the situation. I remember when I was in a law school, and of course, it was partially because it was few years after the communist fell in my country. We had so much new laws, and then they were like, it was not possible actually to keep track of of all the changes. When you start your program on a particular part of the law, then by the time when you have to go for the exam, you kind of knew that the law will be changed, the legislation will be different. But even now, so many new bills are passed and new laws. And why? Because they are imperfect, and they have to be changed again and again. And it doesn't help, actually. So humans will either have to accept the religion of Krishna, or we have to manufacture our own religion. We cannot be without religion. Religion means, how do we live our, what are the rules for living our life in this material world? So these are our two choices. And Varnashrama has this advantage that it is designed in sattvic way, promoting the mode of goodness, and in this way creating conducive environment for practicing Krishna consciousness. All other human-made religions are in the Rajas and Tamas, and thus they are unfavorable, actually, for devotional service. So Srila Prabhupada writes, in other words, one who has surpassed the rules and regulations of Varnashrama Dharma is called Tavaduta. So it's one thing to surpass the rules and regulations of Varnashrama Dharma. That means that we attain the goal of Varnashrama, which is pure devotional service. We attain this spontaneous affection for Krishna. Whatever we do, whatever we say, is surcharged with love and affection for the Lord. That means that we have surpassed the rules and regulations of Varnashrama Dharma. Doesn't necessarily mean that we don't follow them, but it means that we follow only part of them that are given by our acharyas, and this is done to inspire people, not because we depend on these rules. This is one thing. But if we reject Varnashrama because we think it is not practical, or because basically we are unqualified, we don't understand how to apply, that's a different story. So that means we actually not qualified to follow Varnashrama, and therefore we reject Varnashrama. And the other scenario is we have surpassed Varnashrama in the sense that we attained the goal of the whole system of rules and regulations. Just like you may go, you may pass by a bank and you say, I renounce all the money in this bank. They are not yours in the first place to renounce. And Srila Prabhupada writes, such a person has already surpassed the clutches of Maya, and he lives completely separated, independent. Just like Rshabhadeva, he gives the example. No matter what happens around him, he lives in his own spiritual reality. And the advanced devotees, they also, similarly, they always live, they're always connected with the Lord, no matter what happens in their lives. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Do you want to say something, or add, or comment, or ask something? Yeah, but people do.
I have a question, Prabhu.
Yes.
You said that in the beginning of your class about one reaching a plateau and then settling comfortably and thinking, that's it, I got there, now I don't have to do anything. But you suggested that that is a dangerous game to play. So what measures do you take to feel the pressure of Krishna consciousness boiling back again?
Thank you. it's good to have good association, people who are confident enough to be in your case, confident in the sense that they are confident that by urging you to move on in your devotional life, they're confident that this will not destroy the relationship. So you have to have this good friendship with the devotees, so that they are enthusiastic and ready to give you good advice and to scold you also when necessary. So this is one thing that helps. This is what the acharyas say that we should do. We should try to be surrounded by like-minded, by more advanced than us, like-minded and affectionate devotees. So this is very helpful. Another thing is just deeply considering the real situation in the material world. Just reading Srila Prabhupada's books and carefully understanding that we have few years more in this body, and Prabhupada says that at least 20 good years we should dedicate fully to Krishna consciousness. I mean, he's talking about the gradual progression in life from brahmachari to grihastha to vanaprastha to sannyas. And yeah, this is the question. This is actually the real question, at least as far as I'm concerned in my life. I'm not so much interested in other questions anymore. The only question actually is when I will finally start doing what I know I'm supposed to be doing. That means becoming serious in Krishna consciousness. So good association helps. Reading Srila Prabhupada's books and regularly accepting the challenges that will come in our life, and not shutting down our doors to all these opportunities for more surrender, taking regularly more service than we usually do. This is therefore I mentioned the Nirjala Ekadashi or festival days. On festival days or on Ekadashi, we do more service, and then we realize I didn't die because I didn't eat, and actually it was very nice experience. Prabhu, I wish to give you more substantial answer to your question, but I'm battling with this. So when I have something more to say, I will gladly share my realizations with you. But it's a very important thing, and we don't have much time.
Thank you, Prabhu. I appreciate your candor, as you are a very sincere soul, and thank you for talking to us.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Can you hear me?
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu, for elucidating some of the mysteries around Avadutas. Yeah, so my question relates to just achieving the platform of Nishta, because essentially when you speak about somebody being absorbed in the spiritual reality, regardless of what's happening externally, but internally, it's just they're fixed. So how does one achieve this, particularly working for International Society for Krishna Consciousness, where the occupational duties are constantly increasing, especially as one gets older. So one is fixed in terms of serving a temple. Here we're serving Gitanagri. And, even from a leadership perspective, Prabhupada disciples a lot of them will be, departing in these next 10 years or so. So naturally the number of the what's on our plate, especially for those who, you know, are fixed to serving a temple or serving a farm, what ends up happening is that you just get more and more responsibilities. So regardless of whether you're a born leader or a trained leader, it just so happens because, hey, this one is available. So how does one actually ensure that they're just fixed and you can just be absorbed internally in your spiritual?
I think that it very much depends on the nature of the devotee, of our nature. One may be absorbed in different ways according to one's nature. Like if somebody likes to work physically for Krishna, he may be absorbed in this way. But if you have different nature, then it will be more difficult. So one has to. I think this is the role of the leadership. Srila Prabhupada explains in regard to this verse. He's quoting this verse from Gita 4:34, and I think it was in Bhagavatam. Recently, we went through this here in our temple during Bhagavatam class, and Srila Prabhupada was dedicating the major part of the purport, commenting on this verse, explaining how the spiritual master should be able to see the nature of the disciple and engage this nature properly in devotional service. Because if we don't have our nature properly engaged, then it will be hard to be absorbed. So this one thing, but also Srila Prabhupada makes the point that there is a difference between karma yoga and bhakti yoga. Karma yoga, he explains, I think this is a lecture in Mayapur, he explains that karma yoga means yat juhoshi yat usnashi yat dadasi yat tapasyasi tat kurushvamatarpanam, this verse. Whatever you do, you connect it with Krishna. But this is not the highest level. And we should be able to proceed further and just be able to do whatever is necessary for the satisfaction of Krishna. Just like if you have a friend, and let's say you are hungry, and you tell him, could you please cook something quickly? I'm really hungry. And he tells you, no, sorry, I'm a musician, I'm not a cook. I'm not going to cook for you. But I can play some music if you like. That's what I'm doing in life. So you don't consider this relationship very developed. It's not ideal. So in the same way, although it's true that we have to act according to our own nature, but at the same time, we should try to develop such affection for Krishna that we transcend our own nature. And we also do for Krishna things that we would not normally do. So 2 things we should keep in mind. Is this answering your question, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. Grantarat Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande.